Well, hello and welcome to your Urban Connection. And today I have a very, very special guest that will be joining me. And she is a woman that some of you have heard of, some of you have not, but if not, I want to introduce you to her. Now, the title of this video is Born to Win. Asia Cymone Smith has been crowned Miss Kansas USA. So welcome to the show, Miss Asia Cymone Smith, better known as Miss Kansas USA.
Oh, I'm feeling so welcome. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's my pleasure. Now, I'm going to tell you why I titled this Born to Win. Because even though you were crowned in March of this year in Overland Park as Miss Kansas USA, you won your first pageant at the age of 12.
I did.
And where was that at?
So I won that first pageant in Escondido, California. I was growing up in Escondido, and I remember we got a flyer in the mail to try it out. And so I told my mom about it. I said, this might be kind of cool. I kind of want to see how it goes. Maybe try something different. And at first she was a little hesitant to kind of let me sign up, but she said, "Okay, you know what? This might be a cool experience, so let's go ahead and do it." And I can't remember exactly how many contestants there were, maybe about 10 in my age category. We were 10 to 12 years old. And I ended up coming home with the sweepstakes title, which meant I had the highest score out of all of the age categories combined. So that was a huge surprise. And my first time ever entering a pageant, that was the Miss American Starlet regional pageant. So then I ended up qualifying for the national pageant that was held in Palm Springs that summer. And there was 28 girls in my category at the nationals. I ended up coming out first runner up. And from there, it was something that I stuck with. I started to fall in love with just the environment that pageantry brought, the friendships that I was able to create from it, and really just gave me new skills that I got to learn as far as interviewing and confidence. And I feel like it completely shaped me into who I am today and prepared me for this industry, being a public figure.
Okay. And after that, you've been winning since. Now, one
Thank
of
you.
the things I want to talk about, because another thing that a reason why I have this Born to Win, because you see, you've not only been a winner in pageantry, but you've also been a winner in sports and track and field. You were a winner as a cheerleader,
Yes.
and you've just been winning all along ever since that. So you were born to win. Everything you touched seems to turn to gold for you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, I feel very fortunate for the experiences I've had, and it's nice to hear somebody else say it. I feel I never sit and kind of think about all those accolades, but when I do look back, I mean, I have been very fortunate in my athletic and post-athletic journey.
Okay, very good, very good. Well, let me do this. I want to turn back to you won your Miss Kansas USA in Overland Park. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
Yes.
how many contestants were involved in that
This
competition?
this year competing for Miss Kansas USA, there were 17 women from across the state, all different locations, different careers and industries.
Okay, okay. Now you've only been a resident of Kansas for 2 years. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I'm kind of a little shocked that you were even allowed to compete. But have you had any feedback on that, or?
Well, by rules, you only have to be a resident of the state for 90 days. So I've surpassed that by quite a bit being here
Yes,
for two
yes,
years. But
yes.
really, being a resident of Kansas, I felt so grateful and fortunate to be here and start my career in a place that has such rich sports history, getting to cover so many teams as a reporter for KSN. And this really is my home. So it was no question when I knew I had an opportunity to represent Kansas. I have loved every second of being here and the people I've been around. So I'm very grateful that I was able to have that opportunity to compete.
Well, we're very grateful to have you. Now, I
Thank you.
want to ask you this. As the representative for Miss Kansas, what are some of your duties that you perform?
I create my own schedule, so really I can do whatever I want. But my biggest goal for my year is to raise awareness for women in sports broadcasting through my mentorship, Girls Talk Game, which uplifts young girls who are aspiring to become sports broadcasters. That's something that's close to me because being a sports reporter, I know how difficult it can be for women, not just to be accepted, but really to just find a place and feel comfortable covering sports when you're surrounded by men a lot of the times. So
Mhm.
in my mentorship, I'm able to teach them skills to get into the business, and then also just help them tackle those fears and those limiting beliefs that make them feel like maybe they don't belong or maybe they're not good enough. I want to show them that, you have the same right to learn, to grow, to make mistakes, and to be successful as anyone. So I currently mentor about 15, maybe it depends on the week, but about 15 girls consistently through my mentorship program over Zoom. And I'm hoping to expand that, as well as visiting schools to kind of spread awareness about sports broadcasting. In the last month, I also had the opportunity to host some women from at KSN to come visit my station and kind of do a visit and get an inside look of what the industry looks like. So that's my main initiative, and my main goal is to help promote women pursuing sports broadcasting. But so many other things. I've already worked with the American Heart Association at the Go Red for Women Luncheon in Kansas City. I've worked with the AKAs at Wichita State, helping with their Fashionetta, which is a scholarship program for young girls who are going to college. So those are just a few things I've done over the last 2, 3 weeks, and over the last 2 months, so many more. So any opportunity I do have to give back, I'm taking it this every day this year.
Okay. Now, let me ask you about the girls that you mentor, I guess you would call it. What age group was that?
So currently I'm focusing on women who are in high school and college. And so usually trying to figure out what they want to major in and what they want to study, and then up until trying to find that first on-air position. So that's the age group I do focus on, but I have visited schools with younger kids in middle school and elementary school just to give them an idea and kind of open their eyes to career paths, as they're kind of deciding what they want to be when they grow up.
Okay. Now, you mentioned about your full-time job, your day job, I guess you would call it. And I want to mention that you are employed currently as a sports reporter, and I guess reporter at KSN Channel 3. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. I've been at KSN since January 2023. Started out news and sports reporting, but now full-time sports, which has always been my passion since November 2023. So about a year and a half now, full-time sports.
Okay. Okay. Now, I just wanted to ask you, you're a young woman, and I know that you are currently scheduled to participate in the Miss USA. And when will that take place?
Miss USA, the date actually isn't announced yet, but it'll be definitely sometime later this year. So still trying to figure out when that will be, but I'm ready to go whenever that moment does come.
Okay, okay. And I want to talk just for a brief moment about some of the other pageants. You, in addition to your uh, 12-year-old, when you were 12, winning that pageant, you were in 2021, you won a contest, and where was that?
In 2021, I was Miss Black Global that was in San Diego, California, and it's a national pageant organization that uplifts young Black women who are kind of doing anything in life, kind of to help kind of create more self-confidence and things like that. So that organization I was very grateful to be a part of, and I kind of held that title in 2019, 2020, but it extended because of the COVID year.
Okay, okay. All right. Now, I just want to get into some of the other things that you've been involved with. Uh, you says here that 1 month after after graduating from San Diego State University, you moved across the country to finish your academic and athletic ventures at the University of Florida.
Yes,
Yeah, at Florida, you were a member of the historic Gators women track and field team who won the 2022 indoor and outdoor NCAA championships. You graduated with your master's degree in mass communications that summer.
I
Okay,
did.
so this just adds to, like I said, born to be a winner because you've been winning at everything.
Thank you.
Okay, and you worked in with ESPN in Gainesville and the Gators athletics. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
How long was that gig?
So that was during my graduate program. There's a radio station on campus, actually. So while I was a student, I had the opportunity to get hands-on experience with ESPN radio, and I would
Mhm.
do like this trending sports news for the day when I would do that, and I'd also publish articles that covered all sports in Central Florida. North and Central Florida, pretty much. And from there, when I graduated, I actually interned at ESPN's real station, kind of their actual network, which was in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I was there for 5 months covering a little bit of college football, but also college basketball. And I was a production assistant, and that all happened just before I came here to Wichita.
Okay, okay. Now, getting back to your pageantry, you also made history in 2016 as Miss Greater San Diego Teen USA, okay?
Yes,
Becoming the first African American crowned in the pageant's 35-year history.
yes.
Uh, so, um, when you're not reporting on air, you might catch her, meaning you, volunteering for Miracle League of Wichita or hanging out with her little as a mentor for Kansas' big brother and big sister. So
Hmm.
you're involved in a lot of community activities.
Absolutely. Community service has been something that's ingrained in me since I was young. When I was about 15, I actually won the Presidential Volunteer Service Award. So I've been volunteering from a young age. I think it's important to teach people to give back. And so I'm always spending my spare time doing that. I especially love working with big brothers, big sisters, with my little. I get to teach her life skills and to believe in herself, because I think that's the number one thing that at-risk children need, is somebody to kind of push them to see their potential when they don't see it. So being able to help her kind of transform her limiting beliefs when she says, oh, maybe I can't roller skate or I can't swim, and help her realize you can. It's all about your mindset. And I've seen her adapt that so much, and she's really kind of transformed her perspective and in life. And I'm so grateful to just have that opportunity to make that impact with her. And I think that's really important to teach our youth to kind of expand their beliefs and see that they can be successful in anything. I want to be not just a living representation that you can succeed in all aspects of your life, but I also want to help be that mentor and be that person to help those young people believe in themselves as well.
Okay. Now, involved in your sports reporting, I noticed that you've been involved. You reported at the Chiefs Super Bowl game, I believe. You've done quite a bit of reporting on the Shocker basketball. Uh, you. So I want to ask you, what is your favorite sport?
Well, by bias, my favorite sport is track and field. So,
Okay.
since running
Okay.
track and field through college, but when it comes to covering sports, I'll pick either track and field or football. I love to be a sideline, well, not just sideline reporter, or even just an in studio host for a football show on national network someday. So that's the ultimate goal. And then a track and field analyst, if I could cover an Olympic Games, that would be incredible. So that's definitely the dream two sports. But I love having the experience of covering everything.
Okay. Okay. So now I want to ask you this. With your daytime job, with your community involvement, with your traveling for sports reporting, when do you have time for Asia?
I try to take as much time as I can in the mornings, kind of just spend time with myself, take walks, exercise. That's really my self-care time. So it does get busy, but I feel it's always worth it, because this is really a once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm so grateful for it. And I feel like my mom's always told me nothing worth having comes easy. So being able to take every second I can to just keep progressing in my career, in my community service, in my extracurriculars and hobbies, that's something that I've just always done. So I definitely use the little seconds in the day to kind of spend time with myself. But if I don't have time for myself, I still enjoy just as much everything I'm involved with. So it never feels like I'm overwhelmed with it.
Okay. And about how many hours a week do you spend at KSN?
At KSN, I work 5 days a week. So basically regular schedule, 40-hour weeks.
Okay. Okay. And then sometimes you substitute during the week on the news shows and sports shows. Is that correct?
I'll switch off my role whether I'm reporting or anchoring each day, but I don't have a typical week, because usually in media you don't. But since I'm the weekend anchor, I my off days are more so Mondays and Tuesdays. So my weekend is a little shifted, but I still get ultimately the regular 5 day work week.
Okay. Now I want to ask you something that I think my audience would want to know, a certain segment of them. What advice do you give to young women and in particular women of color, who want to break into either broadcasting, journalism, or uh, pageantry?
Hmm.
Because pageantry in particular, we don't see a lot of people that look like us.
Yes.
So a lot of people feel like there are barriers to keep them from entering pageantry. But what advice would you give?
I'd say never feel like you're limited by your circumstances. It's never too late to try. I feel that pageants again have shaped a lot of who I am, and I wouldn't be as fluent in public speaking. I wouldn't feel as confident. I wouldn't feel as able to market myself really and highlight my accomplishments. Sometimes we do things and you don't even sit to realize how impactful they are. And pageants has taught me to really be grateful in the opportunities I have to make an impact on those around me. So I think it is important to try it because we need representation. I hope to not just be a representation for Black women, but also athletic women who sometimes
Mhm.
feel like we don't fit into the mold of pageantry, but pageantry is adapting every single day. And I feel that all it takes is one person to be that person who breaks the barrier and opens it up for more people to come in. So I'm very glad that I get to be that representation right now, and I hope that other young Black women do see that this is something you can do. When you see me, I want you to realize that you can be that person as well. So I definitely think it's worth taking the risk and trying it no matter what happens. It's an experience that you're going to learn a lot about yourself with. I've learned so much even in this journey in the last year preparing for Miss Kansas USA and going on to prepare for Miss USA. About myself, and I think it's a really great opportunity if you want to try something new and really just experience some much needed self growth. So I definitely recommend trying it. No matter what you feel the standard is, it's always changing. I feel like beauty standards, they might feel like they're definite, but they're not. They're always changing, and we can redefine those. So that's definitely something that I've taken into my hands to do.
Okay, now for parents, at what age would you encourage a parent to consider entering their daughter in a pageant? At what age?
That's a good question. I think it really depends on the daughter. You kind of have to realize, read her and see if she's kind of ready because it can be scary. So I think as long as she feels ready and self-assured in herself, then that's a good time to enter. When I was 12, I feel like I was ready. I was excited. It was my idea. So I think if somebody's showing interest, then it's worth taking the shot. But it can be hard. It's not something you can be forced into. It definitely should be something that you decide to do. So at whatever age that she feels she's decided to do it and she's ready, I think that's a good opportunity. But definitely you have to emphasize being self-assured in who you are because at the end of the day, you can never pick a winner. It's not like sports where the fastest person, the person who trained the hardest wins. It really is subjective, and that's okay. You can still get a lot out of your experience no matter what. But as long as you're ready and you understand that, I think at that age is when you should be able to compete.
Okay, now also you mentioned training. Uh, when you were 12 and moving forward, how much time did you devote to training for each pageant that you entered?
Hmm. Well, I was so busy. Even at 12, I was on, a, I think, competitive cheer team. And then on top of that was school and things like that. Again, volunteering, doing everything. I've always been somebody to stretch in as many directions as I can. So I was quite busy, but I maybe a couple times a week, I had a pageant coach, and basically you kind of schedule sessions with them whenever you can as far as interviewing and walking and figuring out your wardrobe and things like that. So it wasn't overbearing. It's just like any other hobby or sport. You have practice 2 or 3 times a week, basically.
Okay. Now, also, do you feel that your involvement in pageantry better equipped you to be a public speaker and communicator?
Absolutely. I think it would surprise a lot of people to know that I was pretty shy when I was younger.
Mhm.
I loved performing because, again, I was a competitive cheerleader. So I was used to being on stage and in front of large audiences, but speaking in front of large audiences is a whole new ball game. So pageants definitely allowed me to really be able to hone in on my thoughts and my beliefs and be confident sharing them. And I do think it really prepared me to be a public figure. I always knew I wanted to be a sports broadcaster, but without the skills I learned with public speaking, I I mean, I completely transformed my career and who I am in my career. So I'm definitely very grateful that it was something I took up at a young age.
Okay. Okay. So that was going to be my next question. It helped you uh, be successful in the field of journalism. Is that
Yes,
correct? Did you say that?
absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, uh, you know, there's several things that you're involved in, and I know that you want to reach out to more young women. So how would they contact you?
I do have I think the best way to contact me is through my social media page. It's on Instagram. It's called Girls Talk Game. And on there, there's a link that you can sign up for the mentorship program through. So I'm still working on a better way, probably to set it up with a website or something like that. But as for now, that Instagram page is probably your best source of information with the flyer, with information about the mentorship, and then a link to sign up on Google Forms.
Okay, and what's the address on Instagram?
It's the at is Girls Talk Game. So Instagram.com/Girls Talk Game.
Okay, okay, fine. Now, when you go to the high schools, and I guess you go to some universities, but are you invited, or how do you prepare for that? Or what kind of accommodations are made for that?
A little bit of both. I'll reach out, or sometimes they'll reach out to me. So most recently, I spoke at Friends University. I'd reached out to them, and I got to speak to a group of women aspiring to be sports broadcasters. And then outside of that, Wichita State reached out to me to have their young women students in a leadership program come visit the station with me. So a little bit of both. Either you can reach out or I'll reach out first, but I'm open. So if anybody is interested in reaching out and having their school come visit or having me visit them, then that's definitely, I would love to hear from them.
Okay, all right, all good. So I want to ask you this now. Uh, you've had success since the age of 12, maybe even before that, but basically everything. So where do you see yourself in 10 years in terms of your journalism career?
Oh, 10 years from now, I definitely, again, would love to be working at a national network. I think I would love to be hosting a studio show covering sports, like something like Sports Center. But again, still trying out new areas of journalism and broadcast journalism as far as sideline reporting, hosting for maybe specific sports, and then an analyst for track and field. But I also have considered hosting a game show or other types of broadcast media. I think would be a lot of fun. So if I could create my and design my own game show, I think that would be amazing. Or even go on a game show. Oh my gosh, I love Survivor. So to be a cast member on Survivor would be so exciting. But a little, I don't know about the weather. Being out there in the cold and the storm and the
Yeah.
rains with no cover, it sounds a little difficult for me. But overall, I think it'd be really fun to kind of be cast on a show like that or to be hosting a show like that.
Okay, now, Adrian, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take a minute and I just want to show the audience a couple of pictures of you regarding your pageantry and your award. You're being crowned in Overland Park. There's the first one I'll show, and that's you can see that, right? Yeah.
Yes, I can. That was right after crowning.
Yeah. Okay. And that one, and then I'll show you another one that. Just a minute. Just a minute here. I think it's important for people to see you in action and see your oops, I hit the wrong thing, I think. Well, okay, let me get here. Okay, here we go. That was you in Miss East Wichita.
Yes, it was. I think that was a fan page that kind of made this cool edit of me, but that was one of the headshots I took ahead of the pageant.
Okay, all right. Okay. So let me ask you, since you've been crowned And like I said, that was in March of this year. Since you've been crowned, have you been getting a lot of attention as Miss USA?
I think it is interesting to see how many social media pages, kind of fan pages, do share things about you. But ultimately, I'd say my everyday life doesn't feel like it's completely different than before. I think maybe it does help that I was already a public figure with KSN. So it's not like a huge transformation of crowds of people who notice or anything like that. But overall, I'd say I have gotten a lot of opportunities for community service and events. So that's something I'm very grateful for to have as Miss Kansas USA and then also as a reporter. It's kind of dual public figure opportunities.
Okay. Yeah, I have to ask you this. You're basically a weekend reporter for sports, is that correct?
Yes.
Are you, and I hate to ask you this, and I don't know really how to answer this. And I know in these markets, Wichita is not a big market, say as Dallas will be a next step up or whatever. But would you be can we look forward maybe to seeing you in Wichita as a full-time sports reporter?
Full-time sports reporter. I think it depends. I'm not really sure as far as right now. I know I definitely want to grow and again end up at a national network, but Wichita has been so amazing to me. So I kind of just take it one day at a time. With news, in local news, there's contracts involved. So don't plan on leaving anytime soon, but I've enjoyed every moment of being here and any opportunity I get to stay and grow, I would appreciate.
Well, and I'm sure that you are highly appreciated and highly thought of at KSNW, as well as the city of Wichita and the state of Kansas. And I think
Yes.
you are very fitting for the position, and I think you make a very good representative. And I'm proud to be able to spend some time with you, introducing you to those that do not know you in Wichita and rest of the state of Kansas.
Thank
And I
you.
just want you to know that I really, really appreciate you taking time out of your very busy schedule, okay, to sit down with me for a few moments and have reach out to those that were not aware of your position as Miss Kansas, and not maybe not even aware that you are an employee of KSN. But hopefully you get more exposure and more people will tune in to watch you on the weekends on your sports.
Of course, thank you so much. And I love being able to give people kind of inside look of the pageant world because I know it's different and not everybody understands it. So being able to share more information just about the Miss USA organization is something I'm grateful for. It's been an incredible opportunity.
Well, let me just say this to you. I want to keep following you because hopefully I can bring you back one of these days soon as Miss USA.
Yes, that's the goal, hopefully.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I have enjoyed having you. And we'll have to do this again sometime.
Of course. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Okay. That's our show for today. And we'll see you again next time.